Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for another installment of the Research Webinar Series hosted by our team here at the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute, or MVLRI. The goal of MVLRI is to expand Michigan's capacity to support new learning models, engage in active research to inform new policies in online and blended learning, and strengthen the state's infrastructures for sharing best practices. MVLRI is a division of MVU, or the Michigan Virtual University, a nonprofit organization whose mission is advancing K-12 education through digital learning, research, innovation, policy, and partnerships. MVU is also the parent company of Michigan Virtual School, a supplemental state-sponsored virtual school, Michigan LearnPort, an online professional development portal for K-12 educators and personnel, and MyBlend, a blended learning initiative providing K-12 schools with resources, products, and services to personalize learning options for their students and improve student achievement. Before we introduce today's presenters, we did want to mention a quick disclaimer. This webinar will be recorded and shared publicly. Consequently, anything shared during the webinar, including chat comments, could be shared publicly. This webinar may represent a presenter's or an attendee's personal views, opinions, conclusions, and other information which do not necessarily reflect those of MVU and/or the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute and are not given nor endorsed by MVU/MVLRI unless otherwise specified. Today we have Kristen Whitaker, the Director of Spokane Virtual and Blended Learning. Kristen is the Director of Spokane Virtual and Blended Learning Schools and was previously Director of Instructional Technology. Spokane Public Schools is the second largest school district in the state of Washington and one of 2 charter approvers for the state. Spokane Virtual Learning is a state-approved multi-district online provider that serves Spokane and other school districts around the state with rigorous quality online curriculum it develops in-house, as well as student support to achieve high completion and pass rates for students. With that, I'll hand it over to our presenter, Kristen.
Hello, everyone. I have Don Brummett, who is with us too, but he's primarily going to be answering questions in the chat room, and Don is the manager for virtual programs and technologies. He's our learning management system administrator and helps with the development and support of our online curriculum. Spokane Public Schools has an overall goal for what we call T24, which is that our plan is to prepare all students to successfully complete some form of higher education, technical, 2-year or 4-year. So the strategic goals underneath that plan really have led us to spin off a portion of what is typically in a public school instructional technology department into Spokane Virtual and Blended Learning. Our department covers both Spokane Virtual Learning, which we've been operating for the past, I think we're going on 8-9 years, and as well as support for blended learning in all of our comprehensive schools. Our school district has 30,000 students, and so we're the second largest school district in the state of Washington. And then we also form district-to-district partnerships for virtual learning throughout the state. So, for example, Tacoma Virtual Learning, Tacoma Public Schools, which is the 3rd largest school district in the state, partners with Spokane, Puyallup, Bellingham, districts all over the state use Spokane Virtual Learning, both our courses and access our learning management system for their purposes. So we're considered a Washington State multi-district online provider. What is interesting about our mission statement and kind of our line, making personalized learning the norm, is that that's something when we were just Spokane Virtual Learning that we had developed as kind of a motto. But as we added blended learning, we went through a long process of kind of determining how that may have changed, and it really is still the focus or the vision of what we're trying to move towards is making personalized learning for the norm, not just for virtual learning students, but for all students in our brick and mortar. We have 5 comprehensive high schools, 6 comprehensive middle schools, and another 5 alternative and special sites at the secondary level. as well as over 30 buildings at the elementary level. We just wanted to share a snapshot of our growth over time. This chart ended in 12-13. We're now over 2,000 course enrollments. So we've gotten a good background in what it means to build virtual courses and also to serve students with personalized learning on the virtual side of the house. We have the highest completion and pass rates in the state of Washington. Those may even be as high as anybody else in the country. This is with rigorous curriculum. All of our curriculum, virtual curriculum, is aligned scope and sequence to our brick and mortar curriculum with the same end of unit assessments, the same targets as the regular classrooms. So we know that those numbers, are those numbers mean something in terms of also the rigor within the courses themselves. So we have also a strong student support model, which helps us get to those high completion and pass rates. So just wanted to share that snapshot about Spokane virtual learning so that you had an understanding about our background and where we are at the state level in terms of building courses and how we have learned about ways to support students in an online environment so that as we move into blended, we can transfer some of that learning into the blended learning environment. So again, for SVL, quality online curriculum that we've developed, the quality online instruction that we support, and then the student support model. We have then, over time, expanded our use of that online curriculum that we built for Spokane Virtual Learning and had partnered with other district partners around into the development of different programs. So the ICANN program is a brick and mortar credit retrieval program located in all of our high school and middle schools. That curriculum is also used in the summer school. We basically take the regular curriculum, put an end of unit assessment type of assessment at the front to pre-test students and do a competency based. Those classes are also used at some of our alternative learning programs. On Track, which is a competency blended learning program. Eagle Peak serves students with high discipline issues that are pulled out of our regular schools, mainly middle schools, some high schools. And then our homeschool parent partnership program, the enrichment cooperative, which we call TECH. So naturally, those first three bullets have been where online curriculum that we have built that's aligned with the district written, taught, and tested curriculum expanded very quickly to. Over the last couple of years, we've also started the expansion into regular classrooms with support resources for students, for them to get, students to get homework help, and for blended learning. So that's part of what we're going to share is how that expansion has taken place and then what the research needs are connected with some of that expansion. Our school district had some issues several years ago with on-time graduation. In fact, we were in the newspaper. We got a lot of heat from the press and from local organizations in a very justified way, where our the dropout rates were very high and our on-time graduation was very low. So we were brought in to help create solutions several years back with the online curriculum. This is when we were still just SVL. And the primary solutions that helped us gain increase our amount of on-time graduation to where it is today, which is around 83%, was mainly from blended learning. So we've learned from a few blended learning programs. The use of that blended learning is primarily the ICANN program is one that we started at that time, and then the On Track Academy. Those were the two programs that really led us to, really led to that increase. So just being able to offer within our brick and mortar before and after school the ability for kids to take online classes with a seat time requirement, and then the On-Track program, which is a competency-based blended learning program connected to our skills center, led to this large increase in on-time graduation. So internally, we have some great stories around how those types of programs led to making a difference. But the real story is when we, so those are the programs, the high school, ICANN credit retrieval, and then the summer school, and then On-Track. But the real story is around online supplemental instruction. So this is a chart that comes from 2011. It's quite dated, but it does represent where they're predicting there's going to be growth in online learning using online curriculum, and we're seeing the same thing. Most of the growth that we're seeing right now is with online supplemental instruction or online resources used in regular brick and mortar classrooms. Because we have a learning management system, which is Blackboard, that's allowed us to develop out all the online instruction, and now we're starting a process of opening up those online classes to our brick and mortar teachers, which is the second bullet there. We did that 2 years ago by first opening the math classes to all of our math teachers, asking them to share the videos that were aligned to the district scope and sequence with students. And we had very little access to those classes. Then last year, not this school year, but the prior school year, we went ahead and just created a LTI or an integration between Blackboard and our student information system, which is PowerSchool, so that we could provide any student who had a math course based on their course code access to the online resources. Last year we had over, of our 16,000 secondary students, we had over 10,000 students access those support resources. So one of the areas that we could take a look at for research is to look at the grades that the students had or their academic achievement on the SVAC, the state assessment, or our end of unit assessments in comparison with students who did not access those resources, for example. But we did have a large number of students access. So I guess it's one of the philosophies, if you build it, they will come. We also opened up a tech support for the kids when we introduced Office 365, and within 2 weeks we had over 1,000 hits, and nobody even told the students. So this time around with the math, we just opened it up, gave the kids access. Some teachers are using them, some teachers are not, but we went directly to the students and bypassed the teachers in order to get them the resources they need. Now it's word of mouth. The kids already know about it. And this next year we'll be adding English. Then last year we provided access to any teacher who wanted to access the online curriculum. So not this school year, but last school year. And then we have had about a third of the online teachers request that, or regular brick and mortar teachers request the online curriculum. The third bullet down, the teacher curriculum access, that has been in place for probably about, I'd say about 7 years. We have been putting curriculum in the learning management system that is not built out as a virtual course, but it's just for all teachers in the district to access their curriculum guides, the grade level curriculum guides. And then our departments have started using our learning management system. Like for HR, special ed, there's an HR site, there's a human resources site for specifically for certificated staff. We have principal communication, a lot of online professional development starting to happen, web conferencing via Collaborate, and then a teacher and student portal, which I'll show you. So basically, once you have a learning management system in place, which we put in place specifically for the virtual learning program, all of these other purposes start to bubble up. And once you build your own online curriculum, instead of relying on a for-profit online curriculum provider that charges you per seat, you now have the ability, if you develop out your own online curriculum, to use that in multiple places for very low cost. So that is what is allowing us to kind of launch into blended learning in the regular classroom. This is an example of what our student portal looks like. We have, on the students will have their actual classes. These two classes, these 3 classes that are on here are just examples of what the support resources look like that we give them based on what course they're enrolled in. They have their Office 365. We use Naviance, Project Lead the Way. So students have a specific portal for their purposes, as well as connections into the help menu. This is the teacher portal. So teachers have access to resources. They usually have a lot more classes that are often connected to whatever they teach. So we have the integration going on between PowerSchool and Blackboard for teachers as well. So if I'm a first grade teacher, I automatically get the first grade resource. It allows you to have that seamless connection. Then we also have the weekly news, all the assessment calendars, and on the very bottom right corner you'll see Marzano Instructional Framework Resources. That's the instructional framework that we've developed. So teachers know to come to this learning management system to access the resources they need for their jobs. This is an example of what the teachers see on the teacher resources. In the Einstein right there is the place that teachers click in order to get their own Blackboard course. When we originally started, we were having to copy over courses for each teacher, but since we have over 1/3 of our brick and mortar teachers that have requested the use of the online curriculum for various purposes, we have gone ahead and gone to a system where when the teacher puts in the course code for the course that they want to teach through this module, it automatically sets up the course for them within an hour. So we had a little bit of a backlog, but now we've worked out kind of a parent-child master class system so that everything is automated, and our tech folks can focus on helping teachers learn how to use the system. ASCD also has resources that we make available, so once the district has an account with them, we put all the electronic books, but the idea is that you can use it for many different resources, access to periodicals, all of that. So this year we have, again, formally have a Spokane Virtual and Blended Learning Department, and so we have adopted the blended learning definition from the Clayton Christensen Institute, which you can see here. And then we have started to bring in blended learning coaches. So this year we were able to get a stipended position for each of our middle schools and high schools, for one person for each building, to be a blended learning coach. We brought them in to work with them, not about what is blended learning, but these site responsibilities that you see here. 2 years prior to this, we've had a district level committee about blended learning, and we've been doing professional development for primarily administrators, and we've offered district level training, professional development on blended learning for any teacher that's been interested, and we've probably trained about 150 teachers over the last 2 years. These responsibilities, though, are helping us create a building blended learning implementation plan for each of our high schools. Next year, we'll start the work with elementary to figure out what direction we want to go there. And then they're working on communication. And then one of the key areas that is quite interesting, but I won't get into here, is the regional community technology access for students. We're starting regional meetings working with community partners. And then they do professional development. We do not have one-to-one within our school district, and we are not going to have that anytime soon. We have started to slowly roll out some bring your own device strategies within some of our buildings, and we did just pass our tech bond recently so that we have the ability to upgrade the wireless to one access point for each classroom to be able to accommodate that. But we are doing all of this work really from grassroots, working with teachers on the ground within a traditional model. We're starting to see, through these plans, we're starting to see a few schools that are venturing into some non-traditional classroom arrangements for blended learning, and we have a video at the end which highlights one of those programs in addition to more traditional. So those three buildings that are venturing into the realm of a non-traditional classroom space and schedule are middle schools, which is interesting. So I think we're going to see the growth from this implementation, blended learning implementation, happen most rapidly at middle school and then make its way into high school. However, there's still a lot that can be done with online curriculum in a traditional schedule, bell schedule, in a traditional classroom setting. We asked these coaches to help us with an online curriculum survey this fall, and these are all the survey questions. We gave them a list of everyone who requested a Blackboard shell for their building, and then asked them also to reach out to other people they knew using online curriculum. We see this as being an annual survey, and after getting the survey results, have already figured out a couple questions we need to change and different approaches. But these are the questions that we used. So the focus that we had talked with the coaches about, this comes from iNACOL from the, I think, New York Lab Blended Learning Implementation Planning document. It's one of the appendices that talks about that transition from a textbook enhanced to a web online enhanced to blended learning. So we're already doing the online learning through Spokane Virtual Learning. We're helping teachers then move from that web online enhanced classroom into a blended learning classroom. And we really are finding that the instructional strategies, the teacher instructional strategies are so different that that transition is taking a couple years. Even if I have a teacher that says, I'm going 100% blended, I'm going to start this fall, here I go, it really is a 2-year transitional process, both for the teacher and the classroom, to move in that direction. And I've had teachers tell us that it's like becoming a brand new teacher all over again. They have to be willing to be vulnerable. So we do have some starts and stops, and we do have teachers at all ends of the spectrum between the use of some online resources just for the kids to access for homework help, to lessons, to blended learning. And if anybody's interested, I'd be happy to share all more details of the survey results. These are the content areas of the folks that took this survey, and then this is how folks were using the curriculum, all the way from students who need help with homework, to interventions for struggling students, to the occasional classroom use, which is the highest use, flipping lessons, all the way down to full self-paced blended learning. So you can see that we really only have about 25% of those users that are using the curriculum more fully in a self-paced model. So of the around 200 teachers, we have, which is about a third of all the secondary teachers, about 25% of them. This really tells us again how often do your students use or access the online curriculum, from 100% to most. So that kind of confirms that last number. Most of the teachers are not using it much at all, maybe for some homework help, but making it available to the students. We're starting to see some models pop up where kids who are having discipline issues, our special education group is starting to get interested, so that if Joey happens to be in Mrs. Jones' class, Mrs. Jones will request the shell just for Joey to be able to access to get additional assistance with his special education teacher. We also have a program going on in one of our middle schools when kids that has, it's very high free and reduced lunch rates, and they have a lot of kids blowing out of class for discipline issues. So when the kids are blowing out of the classes, they will have the kids go to another classroom, have Mrs. Jones request the shell, and then that one student can access. What we're finding is that the students who are then Mrs. Jones thinks, oh yeah, Sarah was out for 3 days, I'll just have her access that online curriculum too to make up her homework. And we're finding all sorts of different models. That plus the credit retrieval that's going on in math and English at middle school has really prompted more use of online curriculum for those purposes at middle school. Question number 6 for the survey. I'm not sure who's controlling the screen. But question number 6 for the question number 6 on the survey is really focused at how many teachers are truly doing blended learning. So they are, here we go. One more. So really, if they're doing this last one, the definition around the modalities that are online and not online are connected, that's when we're starting to see some blended learning. So in terms of blended, so we reached out to Michigan Virtual because of, and to INACOL and a number of different people, thinking that we were in a unique situation to start to do research within our school district. We have the unique situation of having the same standards, the same scope and sequence, and in a lot of cases the online textbook of the same textbook that's in the regular brick and mortar, and the same end of unit assessments within online versus non-online. And we're in a place right now where we need some assistance because we just don't have the resources ourselves to compare more than a grade comparison. We've done some grade comparisons between those using online curriculum and those not, and we're seeing higher achievement with those using online curriculum, but then those may be more innovative teachers, for example. We really are could use some assistance in this area because ultimately we're going to get more support for kids, more personalization for students, more teachers and principals moving in this direction if we can show through academic achievement that students are performing better in a blended learning versus a non-blended learning classroom. And maybe they're not. One of the things I'm thinking we might see is that when a teacher makes a decision to go into blended learning, we may actually see that decrease the first year and increase the second year. But we're very ripe to do this type of research because we can control for that factor of the scope and sequence of the curriculum. We're just looking at the difference in the venue, and we can then look at online versus non-online venue and blended learning versus non-blended learning instructional strategies. Some of the data that we can have access to is we have state assessment data, which is the Smarter Balance assessments that we're doing now. Our district has gone away from MAP assessments because they weren't as closely aligned to the Common Core, and we have adopted the Amplify, Common Core, District Common Assessments. We're doing those twice a year, I believe, at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. We have historical assessment data for students. We have student grade data. And then other factors, I think, are also valuable. Even if there is a slight change in student achievement, but a higher attendance and better student climate and teacher climate and improvements in the student risk score, that would be beneficial as well. The student climate data is something that we have started this year. We're doing a formal student climate data survey so we can access that data. We do not have a teacher climate data analysis tool at all for blended learning research. I would love if anyone has a suggestion for that type of a survey and instrument. We would love to take a look at it. The student risk score, we have a system that we use called the school data tools that we built within Tableau, which is basically a data warehouse tool that allows us with Tableau to look at different views. And we've created an early warning system within that based on research that looks at different factors. For example, it looks at attendance, pass failed courses, discipline, incidents, and then creates a student risk score. So that analysis was based on a consulting firm that we brought in through the Microsoft folks to develop the criteria for the early warning system. So that would be something else that we could take a look at in terms of research. So basically looking for research partners. Other research possibilities would be looking at academic achievement and those other factors for just teachers using online curriculum but not fully blended. Blended is our highest priority, but that might be worth looking at. Students accessing online homework help, and then special education student access with the ramp up of our special education department starting to move in that direction. So I will stop there and see if we have any questions that we can answer at all. The link that you see on the page here goes to our webpage that has a video that we've created. We'll see if there's questions first, and then we'll see if Justin is able to run the video. So it looks like he put in the URL if anyone wants to watch that video, or you could click on our website to watch the video, the blended learning video that we've created. I would just offer that if anyone has more questions about what we're doing or would be available to help us do research, to take all the amounts of data and to do some kind of a research project in partnership with us, we might be able to fund some portion of that, at least travel or the publishing of that type of research, something like that, and maybe in partnership